Official station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM and FM. Jacksonville Beach. 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes, is presented by Underwood Jewelers and American Window Products.
On 1010XL.
Now your hosts,
Lauren Brooks
Donna Murphy
and Lauren Ruth.
All right, ladies, full house tonight.
What up?
Donna, how are you doing?
All right.
You look tan.
Thanks. I just sit at the pool. There's no real swimming. It's like, oh, it's 100 degrees out. Let's just go sit on the stairs.
Swims as a grown person anyway, unless you're doing it for exercise.
There's
right?
quite a few.
Oh,
you haven't been to the pools
well,
in
I have.
Nocatee.
No,
have
I
you?
have, but
Yeah?
like when I go, I don't like swim around with the
I always
and the kids.
swim.
Oh, there's
we have a friend
there's
who's a pool. I
swimmers.
always swim in it.
I
swim like crazy, like
Okay.
a fish. I think maybe it's like Florida. If you grow up near
Maybe.
water, maybe.
But like if you go to like a regular pool, you guys are getting in and swimming. Like if it's just hanging out time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's too hot not to get in the pool.
No, I got it. I didn't know like if you're like out there doing laps and stuff.
I'm not going to be doing laps, but
Hanging out in the pool.
I'll show off my.
It depends on how many kids are
strokes.
around.
I feel like I'm really good at butterfly. And not many
Nice.
people can do butterfly.
The backstroke's
So I
the
always
worst.
got to show off that I got butterfly skills because I can do that and breathe. It's a magical thing. That's about all I'm good at. All right. So before we get to Donna having a baby, let's get to little Blake Bortles. VB5 has had a little bit of an up and down preseason, excellent offseason, excellent training camp, but he has thrown some interceptions. D-Murph, you're the one person who I think is primarily, I'll say, I don't want to say anti-Blake Bortles, but you're certainly not in the Blake Bortles camp. And I think you might have another person joining you in Lauren Brew, but before we get to that.
I saw Twitter attack her.
Yeah.
And I felt bad, Rue.
No.
I was like,
no,
man.
No reason to feel bad.
I don't even get this attacked as often, but I
It's
think
all
people
right.
are probably used to it by now.
Because they know you're also.
Look, I
We
don't
love you some Tom Brady. We get it.
Well, I don't want to bash him because of obviously of everything that he just did for the first responders. It just seems cruel. It does. And so I'm trying to take a step back, trying to evaluate. Now, do you want to put everything that you see all into the preseason? Because you can't. It's hard. It's, like Rue mentioned last week, I think it was, when the Lions won all the preseason games and then they lost every single game. Is this going to be the Bortles we see this season? I hope not. I really hope not. I just want him to read defenses better. That's all I want. I don't ask a lot.
Are you seeing stuff that you don't like other than those?
Well, it's more of because a lot of times I get it. People will be like, well, the receiver dropped that one. All right. There's only so many every receiver can drop. Was it behind the receiver? Yeah. So could it be better? Could it be more accurate? Yes. Was it a tip ball? So what didn't he read in that defense? That's more. I just study the defense more. That's all I ask. That's all I want. I just want to see him elevate his defensive game.
Well, I'm shocked that it hasn't sent you into labor yet at this point, just based off of prior conversations. Blythe, how do you feel?
With Blake in particular, I think this is going to be the same situation we saw last year. Teams are going to make Blake beat him or beat them and not really force anything else on the field. And Blake has to prove that this is the first year that he's really had that he can build up his confidence and that he can go into an offseason with not necessarily a chip on his shoulder that he has to prove anything. The only thing he really has to prove is that he can be consistent. And we know that he can win in the playoffs. We know that he can do a lot of things with his legs, but there is some moments where he makes you scratch your head, and I think that is who he is. And perfect example, I think it was like a 10-yard shuffle pass when he was trying to avoid the sack, and it's like, no, just take the sack because then you're going to or throw it away. But then the shuffle pass to Yeldon, who wasn't even expecting it, that's one of those bonehead decision plays that you just don't. You're thankful that it happens in the preseason, not the regular season.
That's one of the plays that I turned to TJ and I was like, I don't know whether to say, damn, you're lucky, or dang, that was a great decision. Like, it's that thin line. He goes, that was a good decision. I'm like,
Is there any chance though that he's kind of also in his mind going, it's the preseason, I'm gonna have some fun with this?
Man, I hope not.
No, I don't.
Good gosh, that's
All
scary.
right. So Blake Bortles is an average quarterback, sometimes less than that, and sometimes a little bit better than that. But the reality is we have a really small sample size of what we're looking at as far as the preseason goes. To live and die with everything that he does right now is not ideal, right? However, if all we get to go off of so far this season is what he's shown us in the preseason, it's not great, right? I mean, the interceptions themselves, the questionable decisions at times, again, not a huge sample size, but he has not wowed me. I don't expect him to be great all of the time because that's not who he is. But look, there's a lot riding on this season. The concept of the expectations being sky high is something that we'll go back to throughout the season. People expect this team, a lot of people expect this team to go to the Super Bowl. And traditionally speaking, Super Bowl teams are led more often than not by a franchise quarterback at times. And he's really not one. I mean, he's not proven that he is a guy that can lead a team to a Super Bowl. Now, he's led them to an AFC championship game, and he did that with a lot of help from his defense, which we expect the same from, again, this year. But for me, for somebody who's not from here, who's not a Jags fan, I tend to come in with a little more critical eye. That's just kind of the way I'm wired. Even if this was my team, I'd be equally as critical. I'm equally as critical of my alma mater from time to time. So Blake, to me, hasn't done anything that I'm thrilled with, and he's not done anything that I'm like, oh my God, this season's not going to get off the ground. This is going to be a disaster. So again, for me, it's like, I just stay in that. I don't really know where to go from this, and let's get the regular season started, and let's see 4 quarters of Blake Bortles and take off it's just preseason gloves that we've put with this. Let's see what he does, and we've got to sit through one more preseason game before we get there.
Yeah, and he certainly, I don't expect him to play at all in
Right.
Thursday night's game. See, here's the one thing, though, if we look at it from a broader perspective, how well did Kirk Cousins play?
But I don't.
In that game. How well did Matt Ryan play?
No,
in that
but
game?
what I don't do personally, and this is just a personal way of looking at things. I don't judge what team A does versus what somebody else. I mean, my job and what I try to do is look at the team in front of me, and then whoever they play, and the performance they do. If that makes any sense. So for me to say, well, what about Kirk? It doesn't matter. I mean, Kirk Cousins isn't the quarterback for the Jags. Kirk Cousins could be good, bad, or it doesn't matter. The Jacksonville Jaguars are expected to go to the Super Bowl in many people's eyes. So whatever they do is what I grade them on, not what comparing them to other people.
Sure, and nothing matters until the Jaguars play the Giants. But I think when you look at it, it is preseason, and that's how I can look at it. And I look around the league and I go, well, he didn't play all that well, and he was a former MVP, and he didn't play all that well.
I mean, Nick Foles played like crap.
Right, and then Nathan Peterman's playing fantastic, yet in his first game ever, he had 5 interceptions. So I just don't think we can look at it through this microscope. It is preseason. I want to caution people from going, who were maybe way too high in training camp, that Blake is going to be phenomenally better. No, he is still the same quarterback. Hopefully he's learned more lessons by playing more. And then for people going the opposite way and jumping off the deep end, just take a deep breath. This offense actually has performed really well. They had 10 plays of over 14 yards Saturday night. So there are leaps and bounds and things getting better. All right, before we hit the break, my friend Sarah went to the game Saturday night, and she told me that she was in line behind a girl who was wearing a shirt that I cannot say the full shirt's name on air, but I'll give you an idea. Jalen blanking Ramsey on the front, and then it rhymes with which, I'm a Jag on the back. And the gate people said, well, you can't get in wearing said shirt because it's got expletives on it.
Did it spell it all the way out?
It spelled it all the way out.
Okay.
Yes. And so she was
B
turned
word
away.
did.
Both of them did. Both words, the F blanking and then the itch were both spelled out completely. So she was turned away. They told her, you can't do this. And apparently her dad came to her defense and was like, hey, but we just bought this shirt. And they were like, yeah, sorry, you're going to...
You can turn it inside out.
Correct. And so that's what I said to her. I was like, why didn't she just walk away, turn it inside out, and then go back in? But then it was interesting because my friend also said that obviously that was a specific gate because someone else in the stadium...
I saw somebody in the stadium with one on.
Yeah,
I was going to say,
my son
who can read looked down and goes, Mom, look at that shirt. It says, and he repeated what it says, and I said,
So that was at the discretion of the security guard,
guess so.
not
Well,
a
see,
Jaguars
I'm
policy,
assuming that
which
maybe
is sort
she
of
turned it
annoying.
on- maybe the other person did what she didn't do, and they walked in with it inside out. Then as soon as
So
they
now we
got
have
inside,
a wardrobe police. Now we have purse rule. We have wardrobe police at the stadium gates.
Look, at first I thought it was Blythe. I'm like, that's such a shirt you would wear, right?
Yeah,
You
I
for
definitely would
sure.
wear it. Well, no, I sometimes think that the almost like the bleeped out words
Right.
are funnier to hear and to read.
Right.
I don't know that I would wear. And plus, I saw the shirt that I'm not a big fan of the font choices used on that shirt. But I don't mind the message. But I don't think that should be. This should be a Jaguars policy, not a discretion of a random security guard. If the Jaguars don't want to let,
policy.
is it to not allow those shirts
I would
inside?
assume that you can't wear that. It's a policy of any NFL
I've seen those
team where
shirts
you
since
can't
the
wear-
playoffs last year. So
Inside the stadium?
inside the
Yeah, I'm
stadium.
gonna tell you,
So maybe other people turn theirs inside out. I would just expect
I think-
that the gate person says,
or
"Look,
they
we don't
hide
allow
it.
that language."
they,
that this
they
is,
hide it and
Yeah.
then like take off the
yeah,
if they
or
have a jersey on
well,
them.
with
Right.
the playoffs, yeah, it was cold, so someone easily
Right.
could have.
But
worn a
this
jacket
one, this
over
guy
it.
was literally standing 10 rows down from us, walking around with the shirt
So
on.
your son repeats it, and aren't
Yeah.
you kind of like, "Come
Yes.
on, dude"?
Look, I'm not going to pretend to be parent of the year here. And I'm not going to sit up here on a pulpit and say that my kids don't know all the bad words. Now, I've tried to desensitize them to taking their power away from bad words because kids like to say them because they like the reaction, right? So they know them all. And what I have said is if you hear your parents say them, we get to say them because we're adults. And again, this is my own policy. I'm not giving advice to other parents out there. And if they'll, like when my son said the words, I didn't get on to him. I just said, dude, you got to be quiet and don't say that out loud. It's one thing to say it at home to read that. But yes, I see the shirt and he thought it was hilarious. I mean, because
Right.
to a 9-year-old, those
Self-limit.
things are hilarious. And then he has a 6-year-old sister and God save her from whatever. But so look, it's not ideal. Again, cuss words to me are not a hot button in our house because they're said. So I try to keep it like, yes, people are going to do something like that. You're going to hear stuff like that. Just don't repeat it. And if you're going to repeat it, just repeat it at home. Don't go out to school and don't repeat it around other people's friends because nobody's going to let their kids hang out with you if you're dropping all the F-bombs. Please don't be that kid.
Donna, what would you do if
Because
JT
I was
said
that kid in 4th grade, by the
Yes,
way.
same.
Look, he's watched the Avengers movies and stuff has come out, and he just likes to repeat. And you're like, I really want to laugh because hearing a 5-year-old's
Oh,
cute
yeah.
little voice
It's like
is
all alive.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't say that. That's But like I had the shirt, I still have it 2 years ago. Brian freaking Walters, and that's what it said. But at Fenway, they don't let you in with a Yankees suck shirt. All it says is Yankees suck, and you are not allowed
Really?
in.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Really?
each place,
Yep.
I guess, gets to
Interesting.
control
I'm
it.
surprised they don't.
No.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
We
That's
had
what-
to-
Softies, Southies, is that what they call
But
them? Southies
they'll
of the
let
world?
you turn it inside out, obviously, and then
Right,
walk
but
through
they
the gate.
don't
But
want bad. Okay.
they think that one's bad. I'm
It's
like,
going to cause
this
maybe
says
like
socks.
fights or something. Maybe try limiting the sale of alcohol or something. I mean, let's not get crazy. But that is more of the root of issues at sporting events than a shirt.
Right. I'm like, they chant it at Fenway. I don't understand.
Right.
Now you can't wear it on a shirt. But
Well, and
yeah.
we'll get into the policies also that concern this coming weekend's concert because they have increased security based off of, I'm going to assume, what happened this past weekend and different events, that large events. There are 40,000 people expected to go to the concert this weekend. So they've done the clear bag policy for the concert also. And in the wake of what happened, I am okay with increased security measures. I will tell you, check my bag anywhere I go. You have at it.
And
just
they
to
still
make sure
check it,
that
even though it's clear.
I'm safe. Yeah, and that. Right,
Stupid.
but you can't always see everything in the clear bag. But we'll get to that a little bit later. But when we come back, a little bit more about the Jaguars and this preseason. You're listening to Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes on 1010XL.
Now, Studio Talk with Dan Hicken and Jeff
Hey, you
Prosser.
have Dreamfinders.
that rules.
Hang on 2 seconds and I'll get it.
Yeah, you didn't know they don't let you in with Yankees?
No,
Yeah,
I just
got a minute?
assumed
Okay.
that
That's been in place for years. Years.
because I have
Okay, I'm ready. Whenever you
I
are.
have the shirt, the
Okay, sounds
Veritech
good.
punching A-Rod, and I immediately thought of that. I'm like, would I be allowed inside the stadium with that shirt on?
Does it say anything?
No,
a
it's just
picture?
him punching
Probably.
him. So that the picture of physical violence is okay, but not Yankee stuff. Got it.
Well, and that's the interesting part is I'd
Makes
never
sense.
heard that policy or anything about it before, and I was cracking up when she texted me that. Like, I guess I just was laughing so hard because it's like the dad's the one who's like, come on,
Right?
let her in.
My dad would say the same thing.
That's funny.
That's why I thought it was you. I was like, oh,
One of my
my
first
shirt.
words I ever said was shit.
I'm with you.
10 seconds.
Okay.
I had a guy I knew in elementary school.
Did you hear? The last 2 years,
out
the
to
Jaguars
me
returned a punt
and
for a
Mike was
touchdown,
saying,
earning
"Congratulations
local
on your
families
whatever." And he was like, "I remember you
$100,000 towards a
in fourth
Dream
grade, you were
Finders
the
home.
first girl I
Lauren
ever
Brooks here
heard
letting you
raise
know that could be
profanity.
you this season.
He's like,
Visit
"It was on
any
the
Dream
playground." I was
Finders
like,
Homes
"Oh."
model and register to win the Take It to
Thank
the
you.
House
See
promotion
how I like
for
it.
your chance at scoring $100,000 towards your Dream Finders home. That's right, Dream Finders Homes is going to give you a chance to win $100,000 towards a Dream Finders home. Dream Finders Homes, homes built to fit your lifestyle.
Okay, so where is this place?
So it's on Blanding Boulevard, right when you get off, what's that road? 295?
Mm-hmm.
So I take 95 to 295 south, and then right after the exit.
Blanding's
for-
right after NAS, right?
Yeah, so right after
Okay.
you go over the Buckman,
Right.
first exit's Roosevelt,
Right.
and the next exit is Collins Road for Orange Park Mall or whatever, and it's that exit, and
Okay.
you make a right, and it's the first shopping mall on your left.
Okay.
The hard part is the sign doesn't say Bold City Health. It says Max Living because they're a Max Living.
Okay.
That's their like parent
Okay.
guidelines or what have you, or it's called like the 5 essentials. So you make the right, you make the left, and it's right there on the left, and it's next to a place called like $1 Billion Nails, and a Floor and Decor is on the right, and on the left is like an office supply store, and there's a couple other little stores in there. Because
Awesome.
the first time we went, I had to text my friend Val.
Right.
I'm like, we're at this gas station, and it's saying it's in the shopping center, but I don't see it. And she was like, it says Max Living. I'm
Thank
like, well, no wonder. Okay. And I should have figured that out because I'd been on their website a bunch. But yeah, and then they'll have the receptionist desk right there, and then they'll put you in, I think, in the very first room on the right, which is for maternity,
Okay.
because they have 2 other rooms.
I hope this works.
Yeah, and I think she'll come out and see you without you having to wait because they have like a number system, but I don't think you'll have to do that because I've
Well, I
been in the
filled
rooms
out the
before.
paperwork online.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and I've been in the rooms before, and I'm like, what is taking so long? I'm like, oh yeah, I heard like a pregnant chick come in. I'd way rather them not have to wait. I could wait. So.
Well, so they told me, because I saw a different doctor today, and she's like, yeah, all right, so I have an appointment Wednesday, but she's like, no, I want you to come in Tuesday, because that way if she hasn't flipped, then we'll need to book the,
Yeah. What's that called?
I had it, brain, I don't know, but they'll have to do that then Thursday, because they can't flip if they're over 37 weeks.
Oh.
So I'm like, hooray. That's a joy.
I really hope it works.
Me too.
JJ, how are you tonight?
I'm good.
Good.
She's like, a lady I know just had it done. One fix, flipped right away. I was like,
Oh, that's what Peggy said?
my doctor.
Oh, your doctor. Okay.
I'm like, you never hear like actual medical doctors talk about
Chiropractor.
no.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Ugh, I'll try anything.
So is what she will do, will it be different? than
What the chiropractor will do?
Yeah.
I guess it's just
Is
like
it-
an adjustment.
Okay, versus like smash the separate
Yeah.
version where they push and.
Yeah.
Huh.
Right?
Yeah.
We'll see.
They told me, I texted them, and they told me right away, they're like, it's called the Webster technique.
Huh.
And yes, both of them are trained in it. The one doctor just had a baby, so I don't know if she's there. She was in and out last week. But the other one, for sure, they're both certified in this technique. So I was like, there you go, dude.
Alright, here we go.
Done, baby mom.
That's perfect. Couldn't be more perfect timing for you to get them on board.
I know, right? Because otherwise I would have had no idea.
Jacksonville Orthopedic Institute Rehabilitation Friday at 6 p.m. on 1010XL.
You're listening to Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes
Presented by Underwood Jewelers and American Window Products.
on 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
Donna Murphy, Blythe Brumley, Lauren Rue, JJ LaSelva producing it all. I'm Lauren Brooks. Let's get to a little bit more Jaguars talk. Blythe, you were in the stadium when wide receiver Marquise Lee was hit and went down by the Falcons safety Kazee. I forget his first name. I'm trying to forget the play in general, but I can't. It's burned in my memory. The moment it happened, I said, he's done. Like, you could just tell.
Yeah.
What was the kind of the collective feeling around people in your section?
It was just one of those where everybody just simultaneously starts talking about why do we even need preseason games, and that common argument is immediately brought up anytime a star player goes down. But you knew immediately that when he was laying on the ground for more than 30 seconds, you thought, okay, he's seriously injured. He's at least going to miss a few games. When they had to bring the card out for him, that's when you knew it was going to be for the season. And you feel so bad for the guy, because I know that he has sort of a similar reputation to a guy like Fred Taylor, where he's often thought of as injured all the time, even though I think I heard on Jaguars Today he's played the last 32 games of the last 34. So he's been healthy. He just has this negative connotation that he's always injured. And he just, it sucks for him, but it also, in sort of a glass half full kind of way, you're looking at the other guys that this is their opportunity to step up, because it was not a heated wide receiver battle, but it was an issue of, well, who's going to be the next guy to step up, because you just assumed that Lee or Moncrief were going to be the guys.
Well, and the Jaguars dealt with this last year in the very first game. The true number one wide receiver, Allen Robinson, goes down, tears his ACL. He's out the whole season. So the guys in that locker room have dealt with this before. The guys in the wide receiver room specifically have dealt with this before, except maybe Moncrief. But overall, Marquise is a veteran. He's a leader. He's known as a great run blocker. But Donna, how do you feel about the rest of the wide receivers there? Do you think they can step up? Did you see anything maybe out of tight end Austin Seferian Jenkins Saturday night that you liked?
Actually, I haven't seen much of him, which is, I don't know if that's planned. I don't know if
he only played
him
a
and
little bit
Bortles,
the first game, was out the second game.
Right. I don't know if him and Bortles aren't connecting well. I'm not too sure with that one. Look, I love the wide receivers here. I think they're stellar. I think they've got great hands. I'm actually, all last year, I was a big Keelan Cole fan. So I really want to see him step up. And but then it all comes back to number 5, if he can get it to him. So I have faith in the wide receivers. I do. I got
Brady
no problem.
has, kind of junk wide receivers at times, but
We
makes
keep getting
them
rid
look
of them.
good.
They retire.
But
Apparently.
he makes them look good, which is the helpful part. DeMonte
Right.
Casey. Lauren, how do you think now that Lee's out, what do you think? Who's going to step up? Who's going to start?
I went with this today on Midday Chalk in Dante Moncrief. He's got the most experience, second to Lee, who's out, of course, as you mentioned, for the rest of the season. He's also the biggest of all the wide receivers at 6'2", 220. So I hope that he's the guy, one of the guys that steps up and uses his size when he can, and uses his experience to help. I mean, look, some of these other guys, talking obviously a rookie in Shark. We've got a 2-year guy in D.D. Westbrook, who people are hoping does some more this year. Keelan Cole, as Donna mentioned.
And you've seen a lot of Westbrook in college.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And he has the ability to do so. He and, Baker Mayfield, at the risk of being slaughtered, is a better quarterback than Blake Bortles. So keep that in mind as well. Now,
At least he was maybe in college.
We'll see. We'll see. They do have one thing in common, though. They both can run around and make plays with their legs. And for Blake, that's the part that's a little bit scary, right? If he's got the opportunity to pick up a few yards, he's not afraid to lower his head and go get hit.
He'll slide if he needs to. Don't worry too much.
All right.
Yeah, he's a tough guy.
And that's good. And that's what you want in your quarterback.
Wait, you really think Baker Mayfield's better than Blake Bortles?
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's too early to see, but
Definitely too early.
But Baker Mayfield, if we're talking D.D. Westbrook and comparing the Baker Mayfield can do, that combination was killer in college because how good Baker was. Blake, I don't think it's fair to compare how D.D. is going to be, or how he was in college, what he is now, because you get two different quarterbacks. So.
Well, in the Big 12, that offense is you sling it all over the place.
Oh yeah,
the Jaguars
no,
offense
absolutely.
certainly
There's more
is
run balanced. Yeah,
all about the run game.
Yeah,
and we'll see. I mean, I was high on Baker Mayfield coming out of college. I like his attitude. I like his aggressiveness. But I don't know that he's going to be a great NFL quarterback. I think he will because of what I've seen, but he's also kind of
right. And
too
again,
small. He's too short.
Blake is not great. We're not. I mean, again, at the risk of being run off this show, we're not setting the bar at like the GOATs, right? We're not setting the bar at the Rodgers.
No, he's mid-tier. I would say he's 10 to 15 as far as like skill level in the league. But still, at the end of the day, he's won 2 playoff games, and this is a guy that's the trajectory on the way up, and hopefully that he can keep it consistent.
Well, but and Tony said something on our show Saturday night, Saturday afternoon, I should say, about fantasy that I did not know. I've never had Blake Bortles as my fantasy quarterback, so I wouldn't know this. But he's always been in the top 13 in fantasy points. Now, granted, that does not matter if it doesn't translate to a win.
No, I mean, I had him the past 2 years, and the year before was significantly better because all the points were in garbage time, but it was still great.
Blake has the size, there's no doubt, and again, Baker has not stepped on the field in a regular season game yet, so there's a lot to be determined there. But D.D. Westbrook, yeah, people are expecting more out of him this year now, especially with Lee being out. And it just depends. Do they take 5 wide receivers or do they take 6 now with Lee gone? I don't know.
I think they were always going to take 6, but now there's a battle. Well, there's less of a battle really for the 5 to 6, but now they'll have a guy like Rashad Green probably and a guy like Jadon Mickens, whereas before they were battling for that job and it was really coming down to who was going to become the punt returner. But now you're looking at they probably can both make the team, and that's not better than having Marquise Lee, but at least you had a battle at that, and it wasn't just a clear, these are our top 5 guys. So they have options, and you know, we talked about it last week. Coach Hackett, the offensive coordinator, was happy almost that they didn't have a number 1 wide receiver. At least that's what he said, because there are so many different options. But at the same time, this team now has to regroup, and at least if it was going to happen in preseason, it happened when they have time now to make these decisions, and they didn't cut a guy that then got signed,
right?
You know, and they're then lost that or down that guy. All right, Blood, the fans, was that the best preseason crowd you've seen since you've been a season ticket holder?
It felt kind of like a regular season game. Like I know the electricity of the stadium, especially in stadium experience towards like the middle to late part of the last season, was the best I've ever experienced as a fan. But earlier in the year, I would definitely compare Saturday's preseason game to earlier in the season. It definitely felt like a regular season game. Traffic sure as hell felt like it was a regular season game. Even like the crowds in the bathrooms and waiting for concessions and all, it felt like a regular season game. Like we're used to, sucking for so many years that, it's easy lines to the bathroom. It's easy lines to the concessions. You can leave, 15 minutes after the game is over, but not anymore. Now that we're good, we got to deal with all these extras.
And Lauren, you took your kids to the Jaguars game for the first time. How did it go? Besides the T-shirt.
Oh yeah, and that was just a small speak. I'll tell you, I made the mistake of rolling up with one of my larger, and I use that term loosely because crossbody bags. And usually with the media credential, it doesn't matter what size your purse
and
is.
It doesn't as long as you go in the media entrance.
Well, I had regular tickets, and I walked up, and he's like, the guy stopped me before I even got there. He's like, that purse is too big. I'm like, this purse is too big? And he's like,
stupid purse roll.
It can't be any bigger than a 4x6, what the hell is it called?
Index card, really the size of your hand.
Yeah.
If it's bigger than the size of your hand, you can't take it in.
Okay, so I turned right back around and went to the car and put everything in the trunk and took my ID and the cash I had and my phone and put it in my pocket, and that was fine. I had never had that experience before, and Daniel's like, ooh, it's an NFL rule, you should have known. And I was like, I don't ever go through this, so I didn't know. So, no, but they had a great time. Of course, they walked away with thousands of dollars worth of merchandise because that's what kids do when they get to football games. They try to get you to buy everything, and they're hungry, and then this. We did spill our first bag of popcorn nearly all the way after getting it because, that's, again, how kids are. But they had a great time, and my son's already begging me to bring him to the Patriots game. I said, yeah.
Standing room only, kid.
Except for the fact there were some more tickets open up in the 400 level today on Jaguars.com. I don't know where they found these, under a rock somewhere, but they sent out a thing saying you can get more, there are more available seats.
Well, those seats had been tarped, so maybe they were just kind of waiting. The tarps have been taken off. They were taken off for the Bills playoff game, and then they were taken off for this season for the first time in a long time. So maybe they were just waiting to release.
Because the league has to do that for
the
them.
league had to approve that for the playoff game, and then
I
think as long as you decide before the season, as long as the league's aware, then
I wish the national media would understand that. It isn't a Jaguar, we hold these tickets, seats back. The league has to okay us to open up more seats.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to get to the really sad news that came out on Sunday and how it affected each of us. That is next. You're listening to Helmets and Heels, built by Dream Finders Homes on 1010XL.
This is Heinz Ward, Super Bowl XL.
Old City.
Stan's here. Can I go get him and come right? Actually, can somebody?
I'll go do it.
I was gonna say, can somebody get him and I'll do this?
I don't mind
Okay.
do it.
Thank you.
Alright, 30 seconds.
Okay,
Do I
thank
let
you.
him, is he gonna walk all the way down here again to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
Yes. You can leave. Yeah, the door. Yeah, there you go.
Are we getting Hackett on?
Tad never texted me back. Today, I texted him yesterday, and he said, "Let me find out," but I haven't heard. So maybe it was just too busy.
I was thinking if he was going to be able to do it
Okay, thank you.
today would be the only one. Because he'd be so busy with the regular season.
Yeah, I was hopeful, but. Lauren Brooks here for Bold City Health, and this is how you know I trust Bold City. I recommended them to Donna, who is so close to having her baby. I know Dr. Aaron and Dr. April will take great care of her and ensure her body is ready for delivery. Bold City Health's mission is to help each patient achieve their optimal overall health, whether that's correcting the spine's alignment or teaching nutrition, or for Donna, making sure her body is ready to have that baby. Dr. Aaron and Dr. April truly trust everyone that they work with, and those staff members also care about every single patient. If you're looking to reduce pain or looking for an overall healthier lifestyle, call Bold City Health today at 379-4621 or find them online at boldcitychiropractic.com. Make sure that you check in with boldcitychiropractic.com if you need anything in the world of chiropractic. Hi.
Nice job.
What's up? What's up?
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Now then,
You are so sweet, Stan.
no, that's okay. They're not too close.
That's good.
There's two of one because, and two of the other.
Oh, okay.
okay.
So roast con pollo and a roast con camarones.
Chicken and shrimp.
Yeah, but that's what they call it. Oh yeah.
No.
You're the best. That's what they call it at
I don't
Mambo.
care what they call it.
Arroz con
You tell me you
pollo
want
and a
chicken
roast
and-
con camarones.
One chicken and one shrimp. But you got to share with.
This is chicken. Okay. And you have the shrimp. Yeah, there's shrimp here.
Okay.
Chicken and shrimp, girl.
Let Donna have some, and Blythe, you could have some of each.
I'll try one of each.
And then they said sides,
Oh, hell.
and I said no idea.
Yeah,
Give
no,
me
I
something,
don't
whatever.
even. All I cared about was the rice and the chicken and the peas.
Something
If they KFC, I've been okay.
I didn't. I've never eaten here before, so I didn't know what to say.
I love this.
I ain't either. I've never even had cucumber.
Anyway, there's plantain. Look on me, look on me.
Oh, it's so
There
good.
it is. Take it off.
How are you?
I'm okay. You can have some. There's.
No, thank
Well, no,
you.
no. They
We about to,
share.
we about to share.
Nope.
And then
Hey, we got your
Oh, I
rice
love that
though.
chicken.
It's not fried rice.
You do?
You're over it.
See, I'm like, ooh.
Right?
Oh.
well, no. And last time
Okay,
I bought
you
you
got
the alcohol, you ended up pregnant. So I'm not buying the alcohol.
Not until after.
Yeah. Pass that.
Ain't
down.
got the jokes today.
I'm getting that taken care of.
What is this? Do you think?
I'm passing down.
They said
Like,
plantains. and
Plantain.
stuff.
Oh.
Yeah.
Although your plantains look different than my plantains.
They could be. I don't
See how
know.
mine are. Mine are
I
definitely
just want the
plantains,
protein.
but I don't know exactly.
Can't be eating all these
There
carbs.
you go.
Gotta have cotton food and wine.
Box is okay.
I'm gonna walk.
Pass it
Mine
down.
is okay.
Oh,
Pass it down
for the
because
win.
it's just vodka.
You're
Thank
so
you, sir.
sweet.
But are y'all gonna keep her?
Are you gonna keep me?
We don't have a choice. It's not up to us.
Okay.
Can I say one more bad thing about Blake Bortles?
She's gonna be a heel for a while.
She's gonna be here for a while.
A heel.
Oh, a heel.
Oh,
Give
look.
her her heel.
Oh yeah!
Thank you. That's awesome.
Oh no, y'all have yours.
Yeah, I still have mine.
Absolutely.
Okay, ladies.
They're awesome. Thank you,
In
Sam.
here somewhere.
I know.
Mm.
What is that?
We're very spoiled. Cuban.
Chicken and shrimp, girl.
Is that the Mambo place?
Yeah, Mambo's.
really?
That's where Blake got the food. That's why I
right.
picked it.
We got some good food tonight.
Oh,
So now you can recommend Mambo's when you
There
talk
you go.
about Blake's good deed.
Check it.
Getting food everywhere.
Mambo's.
Thank you, Stan.
That was hilarious.
send me that stuff where I don't speak the language.
Well, I didn't want you to go in and not be able to order it because that's how it is on their menu.
Well,
Oh, whoa! Nice.
Oh yeah, well that's
Awesome. I didn't even notice this. Hey, we got bourbon too. I went to Valley Smoke the other day. That place was so good, and they had bourbon flights. Got one of those, so that was cool.
I've heard it's good.
It is. It's really good. Some of the best brisket I've ever had.
It's owned by the Fish Camp and the Market 32. I told you that. We went to Fish Camp. And did you love it?
Yes, it was so good.
And it's casual and relaxed.
Perfect.
Yeah.
We sat
Good.
outside.
Oh, isn't it so good?
Hope you guys voted today.
I'm not a registered. Oh, yeah.
Mm-mm.
Did we run off Donna?
I don't know. For sure.
well, I'm gonna wait to say bye to her.
Okay.
That was her last one, right?
Yeah.
No.
Well, her last day is Friday, I think.
Yeah, last day at work.
Yeah.
She's still going to do the show
Oh, okay.
for as long as she can.
Well, may not be much longer.
That's what she's hoping for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get that baby out of me.
JJ, how long do we have?
15 seconds.
Oh, no. I have to
Need
get
a
one
little
more.
more.
I have to get one more bite.
Oh my gosh.
JJ, I think we'll have extra if you're hungry. Because I don't think Donna's eating one, right?
I don't think
I
so.
don't think so either.
Well, you can have some.
I took her chicken.
Yeah, but you can get shrimp too.
There's, I got the shrimp one.
Oh, okay, well, you can have some chicken.
So what else?
Welcome back to Helmets and Heels, built by Dream Finders Homes. A lot of times on this show, we do really silly and fun topics. But at other times, there are things like domestic abuse that we want to discuss and weigh in because this is one of the only all-female sports talk radio shows. And we like to be able to give our perspective that may not be voiced throughout the day on different sports entities. The shooting that happened in Jacksonville on Sunday is something that is not just tragic and senseless, but something that's really hard to even connect to Jacksonville because for those of us born and raised here, nothing like this has ever really happened. And we're proud of the city where we live. And while the Landing may not be a destination that we recommend to people, like Lauren texted me over the weekend and asked me for places to eat on the water, the Landing never entered my mind as a place that I would recommend, not because it's in a terrible area, it's downtown, that part's fine, but just it's no longer kind of the happening place. But all that aside, it doesn't really matter. And the sad part is that someone lost his mind and instead of reacting with words, reacted with violence. And violence that took the lives of two people, including, well, and then in addition to himself. It's hard to put into words the immediate reaction that I had, knowing that I knew someone that was there. And I've always been terrified of mass shootings. Honestly, everywhere I go, I look around and I scan to see who has a backpack in a place that they shouldn't, who looks like their eyes are darting around and they're suspicious. And it's all because these shootings happen now at an alarming rate and they don't seem to be stopping. But knowing that I knew someone there when I first found out the news, of course the first thing I did, like most of us, I got on Twitter. I checked that Ryan Bonifant, who used to be the producer for Frank's show, was okay, and he was. Tears streaming down my face knowing A, he's okay, but B, he just lived through the scariest thing that you could ever go through. And it's hard for me to imagine the pain and suffering that those families are now dealing with and that everyone who was there is dealing with. But more importantly, I want to be able to share that through Ryan, that this is not who the gaming community is, because it does shed a really negative light on this really special community of people. And just like the shooting that happened Friday night at the football game at Rains, that has nothing to do with the people who are great with high school football. And this shooting has nothing to do with the people that are great in the gaming community. Blythe, you've been around it for a long time. How did you feel when you first found out the news and how did you react?
When I first found out the news, it was actually my boyfriend had sent me a text and said what was going on. I immediately went to Twitter because I was actually getting ready to go to an event that one of the leaders in the community, Ryan Thompson, who is the founder of GAM, which stands for Games, Art, and Music. I've worked with him for years, and that's who I immediately thought of. And then your phone starts blowing up with relatives and people from all over the country reaching out and asking if you're okay, and it's just that sort of just realization, and you just feel helpless, and you don't know what to do, and but then you look to, and so I'm sitting there, I'm scrolling through Twitter, I'm getting the news, updates just as much as anybody else, and then I sort of like, you just pull yourself together and end up going to the event because I didn't even want to leave the house, but I ended up going to the event. I see Ryan there, who's helping out his wife Holly, who owns a fashion truck called Bell Boulevard, and he was manning the cash register inside and still scanning Twitter nonstop to get more updates on this news because he's worked with Cliff, who owns GLFH. He worked with him for years, and all of the GAM events, that's usually where the after party is, and that's where they have these streaming parties, and it's such a wonderful community that immediately after it happens, people are reaching out. How can I help? How can I donate? What can I do? And you see these people around town that immediately just jump to helping, and I think that that's the one takeaway that you can have from something like this, is that when something like this happens, is you look for the helpers, and you look for the people who have hope and who want to help each other out. Because yes, this one guy, he suffered from mental illness, and he somehow was able to grab a hold of a firearm. But it was also rumored by some of the staff at this particular live stream event that they had a weird vibe about this guy, and he was carrying around a backpack. And this was a situation. But what do? Do you call the police because you have a weird vibe about someone? And he was there for 2 days before he lost a game and then ended up opening fire in the middle of an event that these events go on all the time in Jacksonville. I heard Ryan say on WJCT yesterday that there's 4 or 5 events that go on, live streaming events in Jacksonville every single week. And this is a community that rallies together. This is a community that supports each other. And I think since then, it's sort of what the gaming community is that they were all starting to come together. I mean, you saw GoFundMe pages already being created. You see T-shirts that have already been created with 100% of the proceeds going to the victims and first responders. I think Void is doing a T-shirt. Kelly from the Daily Rally, who also has a T-shirt that they're selling. And that's where it's sort of like it eases your anxiety, I think, a little bit. Like it's so tragic that this happened, and it happened in our city, and it was captured on a live stream, for God's sakes. But afterwards, and after sort of the dust settles as much as it can, you look to these other people, and these other people within the majority of the community who do represent the positive vibes from this community, because they are out there, they are helping. The very next night, there was a live stream event to benefit the victims at another place in town called Keg and Coin, and it was one of those things where these players and these live streamers, and they treat this as a profession, and they didn't want that negative connotation to be stuck with them. So since then, there's been several live stream events just to benefit the victims and the first responders, and that's why I say to look for the helpers, because that's the only real positive that can come out of this.
Well, and you mentioned, what can you do, call the police? No, not necessarily that level, but I think there can be back checks at, and I'm not blaming them, but most of places where we go nowadays, I am fine with some sort of something you walk through and then checking it. If you have a concealed weapon and you have your permit, you show it and you move along.
And this was actually an EA sponsored event, and EA technically is responsible for providing security for events like this. I know with GAM, every single event, you go through metal detectors. Even, there's a lot of cosplayers there, so if you have what looks like a weapon, they will put zip ties around it. So they do take safety as an extreme precaution, and I'm sure that EA will look at events like this in the future and will adjust their security appropriately. But it just sucks that this is, gamers have always had that connotation that, the violence in video games affects their personality. And it's like, no, this is a mental illness problem, because people play video games all the time, and nothing like this ever crosses their mind. And so to come away from this just knowing that the local community, and even, you know, as far as the global community, the global gaming community, they're all sort of rallying together so that this doesn't define a community that is doing nothing but growing and doing a lot of positive things.
Donna, you're about to bring a baby into this world. How did you react when you
Right
heard
now,
the
she's
news?
going to do it right now.
I know. I'm telling you, man. Right now, I'm just breathing.
JJ, can you deliver a baby?
Well, it sucks because, and you might have had this too, Rue. We got the letter sent home yesterday that said there, okay, we're going to show the kids these videos of of the drills of what happens if there's a bad guy on campus.
Mm-hmm.
So here's links, and they have different videos for like kindergarten through second grade and then second grade through fifth. Here's a link, you can go on, watch it, have the conversation if you want, sign the paper if you don't want your kid to watch it, you know, you never know. And my kid, who cries at Lego Batman movie because he thought Batman was dying, I'm like, oh, I gotta watch this because my son's gonna freak out, you know. But no, you know, a 5-year-old was just, well, that's fine, he'd come in and I'll just punch him in the nose. I'm like, I love you, sweetheart. I love how innocent and easy it is right now.
Yeah.
So for, you know, 5 and under, it's simple right now because they don't know anything other than they think they're superheroes and they can take down all the bad guys. So it's not a bad conversation to have.
And in this situation, JSO was on the scene within 2 minutes.
Yeah.
What I heard, 2 minutes.
It was impressive, the first responders, those firefighters, the story of them.
And the JSO Twitter feed, their Twitter feed is one of the best I've ever seen.
Yeah.
They were keeping people
Their 9
constantly.
p.m. routine is awesome.
It's a great police department for.
So, Lauren, you have the 6-year-old, but you also have a 9-year-old who's
right.
probably a little more aware of
Yes.
what's been going on. How do you handle it in your home?
So when this happened, we were out to eat, and we spoke in parent code, left out key details, and then people were calling us because what happens when you move to a city and then something happens, people automatically freak out and think, oh God. So after we calmed everybody down and let them know that we weren't in that part of town when this happened and it didn't involve us, my son was like, what are you talking about? We're like, oh, we'll talk about it later. So we went about our day, went back to the house, and we kind of looked at each other, Daniel and I did. I said, listen, before he goes to school, we're going to have to at least walk him through this as carefully as we can without stepping on any big time things that we're going to have to explain later. What we didn't want to do is then show up to school and somebody say something and it scared the crap out of him, and him come home with all these other ideas without at least hearing it from us first. So we walked through it as carefully as we could. We said there was a shooting today at a place where a guy got really upset and he hurt some people and a couple of people died. And we didn't go into the video game because my son is a huge Madden 19. I mean, he loves playing Madden. And what I didn't want to do is plant this seed in his head that one is connected to the other. If you get invited somewhere to go play a video game, you know, I mean, kids' brains do things, and maybe I'm overcautious at times, but I left that part out. So he came home from school yesterday, and I don't remember what we were doing, but he said, hey, nobody said anything about what happened yesterday. This was Monday, of course. And I said, oh, really? And he said, yeah, nobody said anything about it. And we said, okay, do you have any other questions? No. And the same to our daughter. Do you have any and she's even younger. So it's when they have an older sibling, whatever you tell one sometimes ends up, you have to tell the other maybe sooner than you plan on because they hear it from their brother or sister. So that's the reality, though. I've told my kids more about gun violence than I have where they came from, if I'm just being honest.
No, and I heard you say that on the Midday Chalk, and I had never really thought about that. That I understand the gun violence and the information that we have to disseminate to the youth because it is happening so much more frequently. But I'd never really thought about the comparison with, you know, we always joke about parents having to talk to their kids about the birds and the bees and how they came into this world. And the fact that your kids know less about that than either what to do if a shooter comes into school or the results of what has been happening. I think for me, the saddest part of all of this has been knowing that this is not the last time we will hear about something like this happening. It happened in our city, which brings it closer to home. But we all know that this is not the last shooting that we'll hear about. And that breaks my heart because there's no way that we can tell our youth and our kids that you're not going to have to hear about this or you're not going to have to go through this. We just have to now tell them and educate them on what to do if the situation presents itself in their lives. And that is really a struggling point for me, because growing up, there were no shooter drills in my school. I never went to a high school football game and had to hit the ground like kids did on Friday night. And I don't know the solution. I'm not going to pretend that I'm smart enough to figure one out. All I know is security-wise for me, I am okay with increased security in places I go. I'm okay if that causes a longer line and I have to learn to be more patient. But I don't know how to fix the end issue, which is kids are not safe in high schools or even younger than that, and gamers or other people at sporting events or concerts, like the Las Vegas shooting happened not too long ago, they're not safe anymore. And you have to think about it. And I hate that has crept into the consciousness of all of our society. That part is something that I don't know, if I was a mom, how I would communicate that to my kids, that this is going to keep happening. That is just a real struggle.
I think it's such a complicated issue, and it's a politicized issue now, and obviously, mental health is a huge concern, and the only thing you really can do, it should be a greater concern, I guess I should say, and the only thing you really can do is what you have in your control, and that's to look for the helpers. That's to be nice to people. It costs nothing to be nice to someone. And I go back to this story because I think that it helps. That I have a good friend of mine that I've been friends with for years, and just got connected with a new friend, and this new friend knew my childhood friend because he stuck up for him in high school. He was a new person. He had just moved over, him and his family, from Bosnia, and there were a bunch of kids making fun of him. And my friend was the one who stood up for him and said, I think he's a good guy. And that kid that kid at the time took that with him and had it for the rest of his life. Now he's pushing 30, and he remembers that guy because of that nice thing that he said about him. And I think that that's all you really can do is to just be a nice person, and if you're not a nice person today, wake up tomorrow and try to be a nicer person, and that's really all you can do, is just control what you can control. And I don't want to go through life with the feeling of being scared every time I'm out in a public place, and that was part of the reason why I forced myself to go out on Sunday, that I didn't want to let some idiot who has clearly a mental health issue that is going to rob me of my freedom and my enjoyment. And I just think that a lot of people should just take those steps that they can take and do what they can control.
Yeah, and it did affect me. I needed to go to the grocery store, of all places, on Sunday before we went over to my parents' house for dinner, and I was like, I don't want to go to the grocery store by myself. Just for right now, the way I'm feeling and what's been going on this whole weekend, I just don't want to go by myself. I want someone else there with me. And that is such a trivial thing that we all do on a daily basis, and yet it affected me, not because I was so paranoid, but I just wanted someone with me almost at all times until the day passed and I woke up with the sun shining the next day, although it was raining yesterday morning, but regardless. Still, I wanted another day. And then that day comes and you go, okay, life is somewhat back to normal, and this city isn't a horrible place, and not everyone is a horrible person. And I love the sentiment of be nice to people and look for the good that happens. I just hope and pray that we don't have to talk about this stuff anymore. And by the way, again, shout out to Blake Bortles for providing food for those first responders. We got food delivered tonight from Stan from Mambo's, because I wanted to thank Mambo's publicly on air also for what they did.
Definitely.
All right, when we come back, we're going to get to a dose of Daly's Place as Ashlyn Sullivan joins us. She is digital reporter and host of Jaguars.com. That is next, so keep it right here on Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes on 1010XL.
1010XL has stepped.
Are you okay, lady? Do I need to call TJ?
All pro.
Okay.
Jaguars today. Jags with Mike and
30 seconds.
Midday Chalk. Rick Ballou, T-Wing, Tyler Devitt. The Franchi Show. Frank French. Fred Martineau. He's Carline. Tara Lagam. Andrew Gibson. XL Primetime. Joe Coward. And Packer.
5 seconds.
1010XL is bigger and better than ever. 1010XL.
If you're in the market for a new roof, or if your roof needs to be repaired, count on my friends at All Pro Roofing, who have over 25 years of experience. Lauren Brooks here, and when it comes to a roof, we all want the best warranty we can get, and that's exactly why you'll want to contact All Pro Roofing and Consulting. All Pro offers industry-leading warranties because they're state certified and certified by the manufacturers. All Pro Roofing and Consulting is a family-owned company, and they won't ask you for any money up front. All Pro Roofing is a part of the Lloyd's family of businesses online at allproroofingllc.com. Thank you.
Thank you.
Where's the extra? Is it in that one? That one? I was just gonna give it to JJ.
Yes,
That one we all get.
I don't like plantains. I think they're weird.
Yeah, I don't think yours are plantains. Mine are definitely. See how mine are like completely different than yours? See those like
Yeah.
smashed?
Well, there's regular, then
I
there's
don't like
fried.
bananas though. I don't know what that is.
Thank you.
I think a plantain's different from a
delicious.
banana.
I know, but it is the same
It's
family.
delicious.
Yeah.
At least if you ask me, because I love
I'm
Cuban
a-
food.
I don't. Fried plantains are all right.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is. But I don't think it's a plantain, because I've never seen a plantain. Well, at least I've never seen
I just don't think it's fried. I think that's what it is.
No.
But
It's
plantains
almost
are
like a potato. What if it's a
Yeah,
potato?
plantains are yellow.
Or yam?
I don't know. Doesn't taste like anything really.
Peggy said that. I got my paperwork, so we'll see me.
Oh, good. Peggy is like, I told you she goes there because she had fibromyalgia. and
Right.
it's
Oh,
completely
she's the
cleared
one,
now.
okay.
She's the one,
Yeah.
yeah.
Get your head out. My ribs.
Can you even eat right now? Like, can you only eat little things because aren't like all your organs just bunched up?
Oh, she just hasn't given me any. She doesn't care. Like, you know how you get cravings?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had great cravings with JT. I had 3 Musketeers and tons of milk. And I was digging it. Mac and cheese like 3 times a day.
Mm.
And this one's like,
Oh my gosh.
Nothing sounds good.
nope. Nope. Except for soda. And I'm like, I can only drink so much soda. I'm not allowed to drink that much, girl.
Can you drink like caffeine free? Is that allowed?
Yeah, I mean, but
It's the
But
sugar.
still.
yeah, it's the sugar. I mean, like, but now that she's basically grown, it doesn't matter as much.
Now, is it true that what you feed them in the womb can affect what they like out of?
I think that's just a wives' tale.
What do you mean?
Like if
What
you
they'll
eat a
end up
bunch of-
liking?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I
Now
look.
that I would
I
say
look
yes.
at what you crave because everything I've craved,
Mhm.
JT absolutely. That's all he eats.
Oh, okay.
Math.
Yeah.
Probably math's a good one too.
So,
But I thought you
No,
said JT doesn't like candy,
And the heartburn hair thing is bullshit.
right?
They say if you have a bad heartburn, your kid can have tons of hair. My kid was bald as this freaking table.
see, they can already see all her hair. I'm like, oh,
No,
son
I
of
had
a-
heartburn from the time I peed on that stick till it came out, and it was awful.
But never
No.
not pregnant?
No, I mean, I'm not gonna say never. There's certain things that I'll eat that,
Okay.
but
So you do have a proclivity
not
to it, but okay.
I hadn't before I had kids, but before I was pregnant, I never had heartburn.
Okay.
It was awful.
It's all these bad things, like your feet grow.
everything
My
grows.
nose spread like a motherfucker.
Everything.
I know
Yes.
people who can't wear contacts while pregnant, which would
My
render me
pregnancy
completely
was-
useless.
My face got really like, I look like Quasimodo. I got some really bad pictures that I would prefer not to share, but if you dig far enough in my Facebook timeline, you'll find them.
Thank you.
I've officially gained 30 pounds.
That's not
That's not
bad.
bad.
Way less than last time.
I gained 40 with JT.
Oh, I thought it was 60. Oh.
40.
Oh. For
I
some reason, had
I
60
weigh
in my head and I was like,
166 now. That's
maybe
what-
the 60 is what I
Yeah.
had in my head. Or maybe it was like Reese Witherspoon.
That's crazy
being
putting that
60.
on 166. I'm like, ah.
Ashlyn, how are you? Good. Hey, I seen you on TV this week. I saw you on TV this week.
She'll love that.
I was like, oh my god, I talked to that girl on I'll put you there.
Stupid.
JJ, you're adorable.
Oh, thank you.
You should ask her out.
How's your food? She has a boyfriend. Oh,
Very
you should
good.
still ask Ralph. Put my trash in here. Sorry. Come here, all tangled. Nope, you're good. I just pulled you out. I just pulled you out. All right.
We're back.
Thank you. Helmets and Heels built by Dream Finders Homes. Donna Murphy, Blythe Brumley, Lauren Rue, Lauren Brooks, and now joined by Ashlyn Sullivan, Jaguars.com digital reporter and host. And I should throw in sideline reporter, right, Ashlyn?
Only for one more game, sadly. So temporary sideline reporter.
True, but you know what? Preseason sideline reporter is better than not at all. Are you looking forward to that trip to Tampa?
I am, yes. We're only going to be there for one day. We're leaving tomorrow around 5 o'clock. But I actually used to live in Tampa, so I'm excited to get to go home for a night and see Raymond James Stadium. And yeah, just kind of get ready for the regular season. I think everyone's ready to take the next step here.
Absolutely. All right, so we've been talking a lot about security throughout tonight's show in light of what happened this past weekend, and also just in general with going into the stadium, you know, there are certain rules. So can you explain to us the rules that will apply to this coming weekend show with Leonard Skinner and all the other bands?
Right. So normally with Daly's Place, you go to a normal metal detector, and purses are normally allowed, but with the stadium show, they're really stressing that all the same rules will apply as a football game. So especially this really applies to women who are trying to bring purses into the stadium. Just because it's a non-football related game, you still have to apply by the football game rules. Bring the clear bag. You can only bring a purse that's the size of your hand. So I think that's really going to be stressed, because I know a lot of people think, oh, it's a concert and I can bring a big bag now, and that is not the case. Still, stadium rules apply.
Now, Ashlyn, in a couple weeks, starting on September 12th, you guys have 3 shows back to back to back. You guys are going to be busy for that week. How are those tickets looking?
Tickets are looking really good, and they're really trying to get everyone excited for football to be back and to really make Daly's Place and CIA Bank Field a place to go on the weekend. So they're pumping up all of those shows the weekend before the Patriots game, and it's going to be Judas Priest and Deep Purple and Dirk Bentley and Troy Simeon. So everyone is really excited for that weekend, and just to get everyone excited for the Patriots game starting off on a huge note for football season.
Outside of security for this weekend's concerts, what else should fans know about the big ticket item?
The big ticket, I think a lot of people are asking us. They think it's just Jason Aldean and Jason Aldean, and Leonard Skinner and Kid Rock, but there's so many more things going on besides just that one act. I had someone asked me, I saw the concert starts at 3 o'clock. Does that mean Leonard Skinner goes on at 3 o'clock? And that's not the case. They're really making it an all-day thing where you can get to the stadium early and stay the entire day and enjoy yourselves and wait for Leonard Skinner to go on later in the day.
Absolutely. I have been excited about the Dirk Bentley concert for a while, and it has seemed so far away since it was first announced, but now it's within the next couple of weeks. And so if people are looking to see what's been going on at Daly's Place, besides going to the website, should they follow Daly's Place on social media as well?
Yeah, we drive a lot of our content on Twitter and Instagram mainly. I know a lot of stuff with show announcements, they're normally announced first on Twitter. So I think that's always a good place to look for information. If there's ever a rain delay or something regarding the show you're going to soon, that'll go out on Twitter first. So I think that's definitely the go-to social media outlet is Twitter.
Perfect. And then looking at Thursday night's contest against the Buccaneers, a lot of the starters won't play, but who will you have your eye on?
I'm actually going to have my eye on, I want to see a little more out of quarterback Cody Kessler. Seth Rowan said today that Cody Kessler as well as Tanner Lee are going to play in the preseason game. So I'm sure he's already solidified the backup role, but I want to see a little more out of him just because he's played it so well in the preseason. And also Dante Fowler Jr. is going to get some snaps, and he really hasn't gotten many snaps at all this preseason. So I'm looking for him to get a little more snaps, really fit in with the defensive line. It'll be interesting to see him play with the second team, because normally we're so used to seeing him with the first team.
Absolutely. Well, it will be a fun game to watch. 7:30 kick, and we will see you on the sidelines.
Yes, sounds good. I'm excited.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us, Ashlyn.
Thank you. See you guys soon.
Yes, ma'am. Talk to you next week. All right, JJ, are you ready to give away tonight's Peterbrook Chocolate Heel? Well done as always, JJ. And you know the drill. If you want to win tonight's Peterbrook Chocolate Heel, text into the 1010XL text line driven by Duval Ford, 641-1010. Tell JJ and be the first person to tell him the name of the artist or the name of the song, and you win tonight's Peterbrook Chocolate Heel. She mentioned a lot of good shows coming to Daly's Place, and I can't wait. I have not been in a while, so I cannot wait for Dirks Bentley and Brothers Osborne and Landco coming up. Well done again, JJ. That was a band that I think is pretty well known, but I'm interested to see how quickly somebody gets it and we get to award.
Who picks these songs?
JJ does.
All right.
JJ
I love his repertoire. He spans lots of different
and
genres.
again, this
I
band.
only get to pick
Correct.
people who perform at Daly's Place.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of a big hint to people.
Gotcha.
So we're
All
not,
right,
we're
fair
not
enough.
just picking at random.
Okay.
All right, Blythe, you suggested this topic about ESPN making show changes. And by the way, the Michelle Beadle one I think was the easiest possibly to do because she was on air saying she's not going to watch college football or NFL football. And it's kind of hard to be on a show that talks about sports if you're not going to watch the two most popular sports going on in the fall. So that one I think made sense. But you kind of wanted to know, how does it change people's perception of not just ESPN, but also their way of getting news?
Yeah, I think, especially with ESPN, and I just realized, like, oh, well, they're making a whole bunch of changes again. Is that going to make me want to watch them? And no, it's not. I can't tell you the last time that I actually sat down and watched SportsCenter. Either if it's first thing in the morning, I know they're trying to make the first thing in the morning SportsCenter just strictly about sports, which is what it should have always been. And then I know that 6 p.m. SportsCenter is a staple, but I just don't watch. I don't consume ESPN anymore outside of Monday Night Football, and I don't even really watch Monday Night Football anymore because you have your Thursday night game, sometimes you have a really great, college game on Fridays. That's very rare. It's usually later in the season. But then you have a full slate of games on Saturday and you have a full slate of games on Sunday. So by the time Monday rolls around, I'm wore out. And most of the time, ESPN doesn't even get the good Monday Night Football games anymore. So I sort of was just wondering, how will this make you want to watch ESPN? Or is it going to change? Or do you see yourself watching less sports coverage, I guess, in general over the next 5 years or so?
I mean, I watch less ESPN now than ever, just for the fact of I love Good Morning Football.
Yeah, that is a great show.
And I love Intentional Talk on MLB Network. Like, the other networks for specific sports are fantastic. And that's what you want to see. Right now, I don't need to watch an hour of SportsCenter just so I can get my 2 minutes of Red Sox highlights. I will rather turn on MLB Network and get a good 10 to 15 minutes of if I missed anything.
So you watch more like network coverage now versus anything else? Because I won't watch ESPN. I'll get the majority of my sports news from podcasts and documentaries and mostly YouTube, because Good Morning Football puts their show on YouTube, so I'll watch it there.
I use Twitter a lot for anything. I mean, it's the first thing I check in the morning. I hardly turn on the television in the morning. That's a lot because my kids turn into like zombies and won't get their asses in gear for school if I have the TV on. But I open Twitter first thing to check any kind of breaking news that may have happened or just to get caught up on things. And it's funny because this morning I bounced from Get Up to Wingo and Golick and then Good Morning Football. And I kind of bounced through all three, and Get Up always felt forced. I thought that lineup was kind of forced together. Michelle Beadle did not want to be part of that. They threw $5 million at her, and she goes, okay, well, I'm not turning down $5 million.
Yeah, same.
So she found a way to remove herself and then still have another job with ESPN, and that's covering the NBA, where she'd rather be anyway, it sounds like. So kudos to her for, I guess, figuring out a way to say, I'm not doing this, and I'm not doing that, and still having a job after the fact.
Well, I guess because she's on a contract, so they figure if they're paying her, then they may as well put her
to
in
do something else. Sure. But for me, like I said, I truly value local coverage, especially when it comes to radio. I know that sounds like I'm buttering up where we work, but for me, especially being new to the area, I need to know what's going on. I need to know more about the Jags. I'm not going to get any Jags coverage like this anywhere else. So I always turn on, I mean, when I'm getting ready in the morning, I always put on the drill with you guys, and then it transitions obviously into Jaguars Today, which is Jaguars heavy, which for me is perfect because I can learn a whole lot more from that than I do watching a 30-second clip on Good Morning Football when they're talking about Des Bryant to the Jags is like fun dip and a nacho cheese. I mean, you know what I mean? And that's fun, and that's their thing, and they go back and forth, and that's great, and that's entertainment. But I'm trying, for me personally, right now where I am, I've got to get totally immersed in all things Jags and all things what this market is. And so for me, I have to stay local.
Yeah, and I, of course, first thing in the morning, don't do anything other than come to work and check Twitter. But for the most part, I would say ESPN is still a staple for me, but I don't choose to watch any of the shows that they're putting together. If I'm watching something, it is absolutely a sport that's going on ESPN. I love the baseball coverage that they do, and I love, obviously, anything football. They have a ton of college football games on Saturdays. But yeah, I'm not going to sit down and be like, okay, they've got either Get Up or the old Michael Smith and Jamel Hill show at 6 p.m. like that.
She's going to.
And yeah, she's decided, the ESPN's decided that her skill set is outside of sports.
Well, they did a buyout. I think it was like a $6 million buyout, which I would take $6 million if anybody wants to fire me. That's a good deal.
Yeah, and I don't choose to pick. I don't watch any of those where there's two guys either yelling at each other or just aggressively debating. I don't choose any of that stuff. I get why ESPN does that because
you get that every morning.
I was waiting for somebody to say that.
Right?
But yeah, I've never enjoyed that kind of stuff. But I do think ESPN still kind of owns the market as far as if someone's going to turn on the television and they are looking for sports, at least for me personally, I always start on my channel or on my TV. It's 1602. I always start with 1602.
Well, and the biggest and the thing that people have fought with these games and these programs going to Fox Sports 1, which has some alternatives to your tradition. People can't remember the channel. That's the reality of it. ESPN for so long was ingrained in everybody's brain. And whatever your cable channel or whoever your provider is, that's much easier for people to recall than it is Fox Sports 1 or Fox Sports 2 or whatever it happens to be on that end. So
see, I just have the apps and I just stream from the apps, and it's the easiest. The only thing that stinks about streaming is that you have to be dedicated to whatever you're watching. So I can't flip back and forth between Fox and CBS. I have to physically use the app and stream it to different devices. But
now when it comes to games, I mean, it's I'll watch whatever channel I have to find whatever game on, so I'm not really particular. And I do Monday Night Football. I'll do all of it because I have a disease. And
the reason I absolutely love ESPN is to watch ESPN. I love not being chained to my couch to be able to watch stuff. I can go to the beach and I can watch football.
That's all the apps.
Or
Fox
wedding,
Sports, CBS,
or wedding, sure.
All of those apps, you can watch it live or stream it to your device. If you have something like a Chromecast or Roku, you can stream it to those devices too.
But as far as programming outside of games, your point, Blythe, is that you believe people are going away from that, or the change. You personally don't.
Yeah, I mean the numbers prove it. ESPN has had their worst years, and in the past 2 years have been their worst as far as ratings are concerned, and that's why they're doing all this reshuffling. They tried to do this reshuffling, I think, 6 to 8 months ago with these new shows, and they haven't worked out. It's actually been disastrous, and so that's why they're making more lineup changes. And these changes, I think, were seen because John Skipper is out, and he was the one that instituted all of these new shows. So now that the new CEO is in there, he's making his own changes, and he's looking at the numbers, which he probably should have looked at all along as to what his audience really wants, but I wonder if it's too late.
Well, and to Donna's point, if you're looking for specific information on your team, you don't need SportsCenter.
No.
You don't even really need television. You can go to your team's Twitter account, you can find all of the highlights, or you can go to the, for instance, MLB app. You can get all the highlights
YouTube
there.
as well.
And Twitter streams games now.
Yeah. The Thursday night games.
Yeah. So what ESPN has to do is try and figure out how to
keep up with
bring those people in. And I think a long time ago they had started with that concept of ESPN Los Angeles and Boston and Chicago. But they almost need ESPN for each team.
They don't have the budgets anymore. That's expensive.
It's very expensive. Yeah.
And they're the middleman. I mean, they don't have the exclusive rights to certain sports, and these networks are finding out that the money is in running your own network. That's why you see certain teams have their own network, and with the Yankees and the Red Sox. And when you own your own content, that's where I think the future of sort of sports consumption is going to be. And I think we'll talk a little bit about this later on, but the pay-per-view model, I think that's where a lot of sports consumption will be going, because UFC, even wrestling, has seen tremendous success by going on the pay-per-view model, and I think that's where a lot of these sports networks are going.
All right, when we come back, we're going to give it to Cheerleaders and Bourbon Street. That's on next. You'll listen to Helmets and Heels built by Dreamfinders Homes on 1010XL.
Proud
Nothing here, right, JJ?
No, not till the last break.
Okay, perfect. I'm gonna go get my charger. Thank you, sir.
Every time I hear this guy's voice.
Well, I can so picture what he. I don't know what he looks like, but I have an idea of what he would look like.
I feel like he's gonna be tan, a little bit on the bigger side.
With a big a bracelet Rolex.
Carhartt
slides up and
boots.
down.
Yeah.
Duran. Oh, changing it to the socks.
I swear the Marlins are like the one terrible team that will always somehow scrap to a victory when the other team really is counting on them to lose because they're not
I
very
hope
good.
they lose.
Like the Orioles always lay down. They're terrible. But the Marlins are still somewhat scrappy, which is surprising.
Buck Jerry is one of my favorite Instagram follows.
Yeah.
So funny.
Oh, there's another one. Your favorite ex-girlfriend.
Oh, I don't know about that.
That's a really good one. It might be like your fave ex-girlfriend or something.
I don't think I have the right person. What are you talking about? The Twitter.
Oh, that looks like the movie theater discussion.
Yeah.
I remember her face.
Does it smell like food? Yeah. I always feel bad for Hatcher and anybody else who comes in after us if they're hungry.
Sorry. When he first handed me this, I was like, is this a freaking wine opener? How the hell do you open a bottle of wine with this? I was like, oh, maybe it's a bottle opener. I was like, oh no, dummy, read it. Holds a bottle of wine.
No, the trick is getting a bottle of wine that you don't like so that it'll stay in
So
there.
it'll stand there and display. So nice.
That chicken is good.
I know, I was just thinking whether it was walking back in here, like we should do something for
Yeah,
him
what do
because
you
we've never
do?
done anything for him.
Would he let you do anything for him?
I mean, I think if we gave him like a T-shirt that said like "Stand the Man" or "Stand the Man" or something like
With their
or
logo on it,
something, yeah.
Yeah.
Or like a coffee mug, like World's Best Show Listener, or you know what I mean? Just
Something.
Yeah. Well, we're probably watching, so I'm getting all my ideas now. So someone's gonna have to come up with something different.
I think maybe drinking a little bourbon would help you.
Yeah. Trust me, I
Always
would.
get things moving.
Really would. I wish I like spicy food, and I don't.
Well, you don't want her to move yet. Well, you want her to move, but
Right.
you don't want her to like come out. So
Right.
You're ready to come out yet, so you can get her going
Yeah.
the right way.
Now tomorrow night.
It's all, and that might send you into labor. Did they say that?
Well, they said that if like, if this doesn't work next week when I go, that's one of the,
Yeah.
it's good that we'll do it because hopefully she'll move, but it also could put you in labor. I'm like, if you move her and I pop, then fine.
Yeah, you've waited. I mean, you're in the
If you can't move her and I still pop, that's where I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Are you looking for that tweet or something?
I am.
It should have been linked.
It. Yeah, but I'm not on the thing.
Helmets and heels built by Dreamfinders Homes
Presented by Underwood Jewelers and American Window Products.
on 1010XL 92.5 FM.
Welcome back into Helmets and Heels built by Dreamfinders Homes. My name is Blythe Brumleve, and I'm joined alongside Donna Murphy and the two Laurens, which is how I'm going to refer to you guys from now on. But I assume that I know you guys watch Hard Knocks, but do you watch Real Sports, HBO's Real Sports?
Not as much as I would like to. Because I know there's some really good stuff done on there, and people keep telling, you got to see this, and I just don't ever think about, like, when I'm going through things to watch, I always go to Netflix, you know? But I need to give them a shot.
Well, one of their recent stories, they come out with a new show about once every month, and they really start kicking things into high gear when football season comes up. And one of their stories that they debuted last week was about cheerleaders and their role in American sports. And the description of the show says, as the role of women in society has evolved, some are asking if the hypersexualization of cheerleaders and dancers is appropriate. HBO's Real Sports correspondent John Frankel examines the issue here in the States and also in the UK, where the number of roles for female entertainment or female entertainers in sports is on the decline. And they actually went to a few different sporting events in the UK. One of them in particular was a darts competition. And they're talking to the guy that puts on the events. And he said years ago, he's like, I'm a showman. My job is to put on a show, an entertaining show, and to make my broadcast partners happy and to make the fans who are watching, make them happy as well. And so years ago, he introduced walk-on girls, which is when the dart competitors, when they walk up on stage to start competing, they have an attractive woman walk with them. And their broadcast partners 2 years ago said, we don't like this anymore, and we want you to get rid of it. And he said, well, my broadcasters pay my bills, and if they don't like it, I don't like it. And since they got rid of it, they've seen zero decrease as far as like ratings, fan engagement. They said that more women are starting to show up at these events, and that's what led, I think, this story and the debate on the role of women, particularly in American sports, and how they see their role evolving. And they go to Denver and they talk to the cheerleading director there, and they talk to her and find out, does she think that this is demeaning? And of course, it's her job. She's going to defend the right for, she says that the feminist movement is about a woman's choice. And then you go to some of these other people who are, one named in particular was a Jets head coach, not head coach, but a Jets coach for defensive backs, Colette Smith. She's a former football player, and she absolutely hates the idea of cheerleaders on the sidelines, because she looks around the sidelines. She's supposedly the only woman on there, and then she looks around and she sees cheerleaders, and that's the dynamic that she's sort of faced with. So it sort of brings me to my next question, do you think, as far as like cheerleaders in particular, do you think that the role of them in sports nowadays should be decreased? Should they get rid of them altogether? What are sort of your take on it?
I think that they should do what the Rams and Saints did. I think they should add male cheerleaders.
Which they used to actually have. They used to have male cheerleaders in the NFL.
I don't see what's so wrong about, I love I don't watch a lot of college football, but I love the cheerleaders for college football. I absolutely love it because they are cheerleaders.
Well, and they're that's different than, say, what are the Jaguars? The
Roar.
Roar. Okay,
yeah, it's not. The NFL cheerleaders to me are they're a lot like trying to attempt to be the NBA dancers, and that doesn't work. Because a lot of times you can't really see them, but at college games you see those cheerleaders. They're getting you into the game. I love that. I wish that they would turn it more into that. If you take away cheerleaders, is it gonna send more women to the stands, to the games? No. Is it gonna decrease numbers in men? No. It's not gonna make a difference if you take them away. But I just think it would be a lot more fun if you get it more as a college type of sideline atmosphere. That's what I would like to see.
I don't really have a preference either way. It doesn't bother me that they're there, and if they get away with them, it wouldn't affect I mean, my viewing one way or the other.
NFL only, or in general?
Well, for the sake of this conversation, I think it's NFL because of the way they're portrayed and the outfits they wear. And
well, it's also the NBA, like the NHL's
right,
Ice
professional
Girls.
versus like true cheerleaders and dance. I mean, the Roar are more of a dance squad. They're called cheerleaders because they're on the sideline, but they dance. I mean, I don't know that they exactly lead people in cheers, but whatever. You know, when I think NFL cheerleaders, the first that comes to mind is the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders, and this is like this big pride thing. And they did this whole series on becoming a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, and they take it very serious. And for a lot of these girls who were pom girls in college, who want to keep dancing and want to start other careers and performance and stuff, it's a good. I mean, I think it's something they use to like help promote their careers, and they want to become models and things like that. So, it doesn't bother me either way. I'm curious when they say their purpose has changed or their reason for being there has changed. What was the reason to begin with?
Well, they started. They go into the history of cheerleaders in
I mean,
sports.
like again, one thing actually leading a crowd in a cheer. I get.
Beat, aggressive.
Yes.
Beat, eat.
Oh, it's so,
just
it's
like that.
So
or REBOUND, rebound. Listen, I used to be a cheerleader, so I get it. To me, that's again separate than what has turned into dancing in scantily clad outfits and high heel boots.
And that there was a costume maker that they didn't profile her, but they mentioned her in the story, that the costume maker that makes for cheerleaders all over and dancers all over, that they're already getting requests for fuller coverage as far as outfits are concerned.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter thinks they're awesome, and I'm like, and she wanted pom poms like it, and like the boobs are hanging out and all that stuff, and you're kind of like. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of I don't know.
And that's what Colette Smith, the Jets defensive coach.
Because those women are doing what they love,
right?
And I don't want to tear that down and insult it again because it doesn't bother me. But I don't know.
That's what Colette Smith sort of hinted at, the defensive backs coach for the Jets, and she said that look, these are talented, these are trained athletes that are out there on the field cheering. She's like, but they're being objectified. And so in sort of combat to that, and I'm sure this was a passion of hers anyways, but she started a girls' camp, a girls' football camp, because she wants to teach little girls confidence.
It shouldn't be the only option for girls.
Right.
Well, and do you think, do you think high school cheerleaders are being objectified? Do you think college cheerleaders are being objectified?
No,
Why is
I
it
think
just
because
NFL?
Because of what they wear.
Yeah, I do think
100% what they wear.
I think the NFL cheerleaders, it seems encouraged to
NBA too,
show
and NHL.
I mean,
show cleavage to wear.
It's provocative.
I know, but I mean,
if your stomach showing,
right? But if you're looking at the college cheerleaders and they're getting thrown up in the air, their legs are wide open in these tiny little skirts. I don't see a difference at all, in my opinion. My problem with the NFL cheerleaders, getting a damn straight line. If you're going to be dancers, I want to see those straight lines because that bothers me all the heck.
It's funny because what bothers me is especially like when I ever work the sidelines and I'm profusely sweating and my hair's a mess. And I look down at the Roar or other people, and they have their hair done and it's 9,000 degrees and their makeup's perfect and their hair's perfect, and I don't understand how they aren't just profusely also
dry shampoo and setting spray.
I don't get it, but
I've said it before, I'll say it again.
But at the same time, I think as long as they feel like what they're doing is a fun, enjoyable thing, and they feel like they're contributing, then go for it. But we've heard a lot of cheerleaders who say it's not worth the money. Well,
or
then
they were asked to do inappropriate things.
Sure,
I can't
at that
remember
point,
the most recent.
The Ravens.
Yeah, then you've got to draw the line as a person and say, okay, I'm not going to get involved in this. But like Blythe, one of the cheerleaders that I know, this is her first year, and it seems like she absolutely loves it and has no complaints. So
and it's
if she loves it, then go for it.
And a lot of NFL teams require, I know the Broncos are one of them, they require all of their cheerleaders to either have a full-time job or to be going to school full-time. And they profiled a chick who's actually an aerospace engineer. So she's a legitimate rocket scientist, and she's also a Denver Broncos cheerleader. And she's like, I made this choice. This is what the feminist movement is about for me. This is my choice to do it. But then on the other side of it, you have other women that say, yes, that is your choice to do it, but you're contributing to the overall objectification of women, and your short-term loss, as far as like losing your job, is for the long-term gain of all of us. And
that sounds to me like jealousy. That's what it sounds to me. The women that are like so against it, it sounds like, well, if I can't do it or look like you, I don't want you to do it either.
Which very well could be the case too for
me.
for some women, but I don't know. I look to this guy that is the broadcast partner, or he's in charge of putting on these events for a dart competition, and he gets rid of it because his broadcasters and the sentiment is changing.
Who has ring girls, if you will, or hype girls for a dart tournament?
Racing has it. UFC has ring girls.
No, I get that. Yeah.
Don't get me on those monster girls.
The boxing and all that. I just think it's funny that the dart.
Well, Formula One too got rid of all of their I guess the girls who were responsible for giving you a kiss on the cheek after you win a race or something. They got it's more of like a European trend now to get rid of these women that are in roles that they're being objectified.
Yeah,
and
if you're physically active, whether it's on the sidelines or whatever you're doing, by all means go for it. But if you are there as a show pony, basically, then I think at that point,
what's
they
the
need
difference?
To figure it out.
Well, NASCAR's always had it.
And you're contributing, then I'm all for it. Even if you're not leading necessarily the people, the fans and cheers, if you're performing for the fans, then that's a valid reason to be out there. Yes, if you are simply there for show, then maybe that is a little bit more of objectification as far as the next generation.
I don't know that I've ever seen an ugly cheerleader though.
Isn't the whole thing a show though, guys? I mean, like a
it's
football
the
game
entertainment.
is a show. So
it's all entertainment,
they just put
absolutely.
what people want to watch, and guys mostly watch sports, and they put beautiful women on there.
Yeah.
Never gonna change.
I don't know. I think if it's changing over in Europe, I think that this could be something that we see in the next 5 to 10 years.
We'll see if they take the trip. Totally kidding.
Oh, you about to have some people on you on Twitter.
Just kidding.
And on that note, we are going to break. We will give her a stern talking to in the next few minutes. We promise, Jacksonville. You're listening to Helmets and Heels, built by Dream Finders Homes on 1010XL.
That's funny.
I had to do
That's
it.
funny. Doesn't bother me one way or another.
But then there's also, you got the NFL teams that have never had cheerleaders.
Right.
Packers, Steelers.
Yeah.
They've never had them.
It's too cold to have your boobs hanging out in Green Bay.
Right.
Well,
Right?
they play inside. Right?
Green Bay's
No,
outside.
it's outside.
What,
They wear little
Lambeau?
jackets.
Yeah.
Lambeau's definitely
I
outside.
thought they have inside.
Girlfriend.
No.
Minnesota.
Minnesota has a dome, but Lambeau is.
Maybe I'm thinking of
in the middle of
the
neighborhood.
community area.
What'd you
Maybe
say,
I'm thinking of the, don't they have like a tourist area?
They have Lambeau Field, which is like the
Out.
most famous football stadium.
Yep.
Yes, thank you. But they also
Outside,
have a
cold-ass
tourist,
bleachers.
you can
That's what I
go
mean.
there when it's not football season is my point.
Oh, maybe.
So it's a whole,
Maybe they have an
It's-
indoor
oh,
practice facility.
maybe like Foxborough, or I forget the name of what it's called, but it's the
Patriots place is fine.
entertainment complex around Lambeau Field as well, which I think does make a difference if you're a cheerleader.
I don't care either way. I just,
Titles
if you're
are
going to be a
entertainment,
dancer, then
I mean,
Can
a lot
they
of
be
people, what I didn't
good?
want to say on air because I don't want to offend anyone, but a lot of people call them like glorified strippers.
and
Well,
I mean,
there are
They
also,
dress
there,
kind
that's,
of is, but they're not actually asked
Right,
to
they're
do
not
anything.
taking, right. It
It's-
just, I mean, yeah, they dance super provocative and they have like no clothes on and they wear high heels.
well, it's
But
not
I-
like the movie The Replacements. If you're going to
Oh,
go
right.
all for it, then be those cheerleaders, you know? And then that would be funny, but I just wish they would be good. Good dancers, that's all I ask.
Again, I don't really pay much attention to it.
yeah, I don't know that if the NFL got rid of cheerleaders tomorrow,
It
that
wouldn't-
people would be
no.
like, I'm not going. Like,
No, it wouldn't have
No.
any effect.
No.
This.
There would
What?
just be a lot of females
If you
in
got rid
the
of every
business.
cheerleader, no
sad.
one would notice.
No.
That's
mm-mm.
right. I agree. I don't think anyone
But
cares.
Which
it's
is
the
sad.
identity of certain women, like I remember when I worked for Jaguars today, they had two different women in from the Roar, and one was a teacher, and she loved to be able to tell her kids like, and on Sundays, if you go to the game, I'm on the field, and that's it's a
Yeah.
cool part of our identity.
and you get a lot of perks
It
for
is,
doing
and
it.
And I don't think they require you to have your boobs out. I think that's just a choice that a
How do
lot
you
of
not have your
cheerleaders
boobs
make.
out in those costumes?
Well,
or whatever.
Depends on what size you are.
Well, that's true. But I mean, it's like, here's this, and here's this.
That was the interesting part of the show too, is that they said they're already getting requests for less provocative costumes and
Cover
less
up
provocative
the line,
dance routines.
Yeah.
Which
So they
I-
know the sentiment is already changing. That
Yeah.
proves that it's already changing here in the U.S. So I think that that's one step closer to just
Like, it really, yeah, is anyone going to have, this is a picture, y'all know what it looks like, but is anyone going to have an issue if that's what the Aurora cheerleaders' outfits looked like in comparison with how much more risque they are
One
now?
of the guys asked, too, the guy who's doing the interview, he said, well, why not have women be on the sidelines in workout attire?
And I thought about that, too.
And the cheer director or whatever, she was like, because that's workout attire and that's not costume attire.
Right, yeah,
they're cheering, that's part of the performance, the pageantry of football is that they're in a costume.
Which, by the way, dry shampoo is great, but I sweat from here, so it seeps right into my hair. There is no way to prevent me melting.
You got to get a setting spray and a prime spray.
But I mean, as far as my hair is wet. My hair gets wet when when we were at the game Thursday, before the sun went down, my hair was wet.
It was so
there's
humid.
no way to avoid it.
Have you ever tried it?
Oh, dry shampoo, absolutely.
Yeah.
Who's doing
But it doesn't prevent me
bowls
from, I
this
just
year?
sweat from here. If you sweat like armpits, you're fine.
Who's doing bowls this year?
Taylor, Tony.
Taylor's
Taylor
doing
has
Bishop Kenny.
with Andrew and Marty.
Yeah.
Tony,
So
and I
Tony.
don't know who else.
Andrew?
He
Andrew
does
Bishop Kenny.
Oh.
Grid girls are what Formula One got rid of. Their job was to stand on the starting grid in front of the driver's starting position and hold a sign with the driver's name and car number while wearing the national dress of the country the race is taking.
And NASCAR used to have Miss Winston. And first she would be in a bikini, then they changed her into a driver's
Yeah,
suit.
because she smoked too many cigarettes.
Miss Winston, no, and it was
They have
Winston
the
Cup.
Monster Energy girl.
Yeah.
I know, now they have those.
Yeah.
I miss the Sprint girls. Sprint girls were awesome.
I think they're all the same girls. They just put on different outfits.
Yeah, probably. You're
And
probably
even-
right.
But if you think about it, a lot of companies do this, like the Bud Light girls, Miller Light girls,
Yeah.
Corona
Yeah.
girls.
Yeah.
They all do it.
Yeah.
Weren't the Miller Lite girls out there
Where?
for the show?
Chubby's wings.
No.
No?
No.
Well,
Just wait.
And I will say, if they are in very
15
little
seconds.
clothing, if I'm professionally dressed, there are times where I'm like, I'm a little uncomfortable.
100%.
Like,
I
a
had to do
little
a TV
bit.
show at Twin Peaks
Oh,
for
yeah.
football season. And you talk about not wearing anything. They have like lingerie.
Here we go.
And they wear like thong.
You're listening to Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes
Presented by Underwood Jewelers and American Window Products.
on 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
last segment here on Helmets and Heels, built by Dreamfinders Homes in our new time slot 6 to 8, which is delightful.
We love it.
We do. We love it so
It's
much.
weird walking out of here when it's still daylight.
It is. It's very odd. So it's a big weekend here. Not necessarily for me, but I definitely know you two, Lawrence and Blythe. I would say, because you're opening with
Louisville's playing
with a pretty
Alabama,
good team.
so it's a
But
wrap.
It's
Put
college.
us in the grave already.
College football's opening up. So give me your thoughts. What are your expectations on your teams?
Well, it was announced yesterday that Felipe Franks will be the starting quarterback for Florida. And I kind of gave you guys the scenario a while back of the different options that head coach Dan Mullen could go with. Felipe Franks doesn't get me excited in the least because I got to see him last year. And he's a redshirt sophomore that I think may not be repairable at that quarterback position.
So over under how many starts he actually gets then?
Well, the problem is I'm not sure that anyone around him is going to be any better. And the one thing, and it reminds me so much of the Jaguars a year ago, the reason Doug Marrone chose Blake Bortles as the starting quarterback over Chad Henne is because of his mobility. I think Dan Mullen's left with that option too. Look, I don't have anybody who's comfortable in this offense. I don't have anybody who is really gifted at throwing the football, so I'm going to have to go with a guy who can use his legs. And not saying he's a dual threat quarterback, he's not, but he is at least able to run the football. The question is he going to be able to recognize the situations in which he needs to throw versus when he needs to pass, when he needs to take a sack, all those things that are split-second decisions that last year he struggled at so mightily. However, last year's team had so much attrition, and whether it was the suspensions or whether it was injuries, and so he at least has a lot more weapons around him. There's two wide receivers who transferred in to Florida from both Ole Miss and then Ohio State in Van Jefferson and Trevon Grimes. So he has those guys in addition to the wide receivers that he had last year and Tyree Cleveland and some other guys. And then when it comes to the running back situation, Florida's way better off this year than a year ago. Malik Davis looked really good last year as a freshman. Then he got hurt because, again, injuries plagued the team. But now you've got Jordan Scarlett back. 2 years ago when Jordan Scarlett played, he was fantastic. You've got Malik Davis. You've got some other guys at that position too. And so I think he's going to be able to have a better supporting cast than he did last season. I'm just still not excited because I'm not sure that mentally he can get there. Granted, Dan Mullen is going to be a way better coach, quarterbacks coach, than Jim McElwain ever was. So I'm hopeful. And the last thing I would ever do is write off a 19-year-old and say, he's god-awful, he'll never learn. That's what my gut tells me based off of last year. But I certainly hope like heck that this kid is going to be really good. And I think the defense will be steady. As far as like an over-under win totals wise, I'll say it's going to be hard pressed for this team to lose more than 5 games because the schedule's not as difficult as it has been in the past. So I'll say probably like an 8-4. But really the 2 hardest games, Florida State and Georgia. Outside of that, there are a lot of other teams that are struggling, like Tennessee and LSU. And South Carolina is a little bit better. But yeah, so Florida overall, to me, I'm so excited about the start of football season, and there's so many unknowns, and maybe I'm way wrong. Maybe this quarterback competition has made Felipe Franks way better. Or maybe he doesn't play well, and all of a sudden Kyle Trask looks fantastic. I don't even care. But I'm way more excited about the start of it so we can at least figure out the answers versus going through all the hypotheticals. What about Oklahoma State?
Oh, Oklahoma State. Listen, they have the weakest non-conference schedule out of anybody on the planet. They always do. Missouri State, that's right. I think they're a Division II, 1A, whatever school. FCS, FBS, whatever. There'll be a Thursday night game to get college football season started on FS1. I'll tune in. The biggest question for Oklahoma State, and I won't get into the real specifics because nobody here cares, but when you replace a guy like Mason Rudolph and James Washington, both are with the Steelers organization, obviously.
Which is so fun for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are some pretty big shoes to fill. And your choices for quarterback in an offensive-driven league, there are important decisions to be made. Taylor Cornelius, who's a redshirt senior, who didn't really do anything until now, will be the starter for day one. The run game will be better. That's only if the offensive line has gotten better, which has been their Achilles heel for the past couple of years, and defense. In the Big 12, quote, nobody plays defense, and Oklahoma State's included in that. They did make some changes at defensive coordinator, firing Glenn Spencer, but hiring, head-scratching a bit, Jim Knowles from Duke, because I wouldn't say Duke is exactly known for their stellar football whatsoever, but whatever, they didn't ask me. So I'm going to say they're definitely bowl eligible, but I don't know. I mean, they're not going to beat OU. Texas is a toss-up. It's a series that Oklahoma State's dominated for a while. I'm going to put the win total at 8 for the Cowboys.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Well, listen, they've had 10-win seasons. Again, 3 are going to come from Missouri State, South Alabama, and I don't know. Boise State poses a threat every year to somebody random, so who knows? They'll beat Kansas. They'll beat Iowa State. No, they may not beat Iowa State. I don't know. 8 wins may be hard to come by now that I think about it.
I just want to go 1 year without an NCAA investigation.
Hey, that is good goals to have.
Shooting for the stars here.
I mean, you're not going to have Lamar Jackson to watch.
No.
Is it going to be painful or?
No, I mean, it's part of football.
Yeah.
Players move on, and obviously I'm rooting for him over with Baltimore, but it's just kicking off, like if Lamar Jackson was still on the team facing off against Alabama, that would be something that would be a game that I would actually go to. But with so many unknowns going into this season, like I said, I'm just hoping that we can just get through the year without any more NCAA violations.
Do you have a young quarterback replacing Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, I don't even know his name. Nothing.
Well, you'll find out this weekend.
Yeah.
Right? Hopefully.
Learning experience starts this weekend.
Let's go on to, I know pay-per-view was mentioned earlier. I am super excited about this Tiger v. Phil over Thanksgiving. I don't know about you all, but I'm pumped for it. I'm stoked. And the price came out, so it's $25.
Oh, that's cheap.
Yeah, I'm all in.
Where does the money go? Does it go to charity or anything?
I don't care. I want to watch it. I'm paying because I want to watch it.
That charity is Tiger and Phil's pocket.
Yeah.
That's where the other million.
$9 million, isn't it?
Right, and it was supposed to be $10 million, so maybe the extra million will come from all of us buying it. But because of this, I feel that's why Phil Mickelson has all of a sudden popped up on Twitter. He hasn't been on Twitter before. Now he's on Twitter, and I don't know if you guys have paid attention, have seen anything that he's been putting out, but
it's funny.
Are you going to watch it, go somewhere to watch it, pay to watch it, do not care? And B, have you noticed, do you like the back and forth trash talk already between these two?
I love the trash talk between the two. If it's one of those things where they have all the highlights out immediately when the event ends, then no, I'm not going to pay for it. But if it's just $25 and you can watch the whole event and maybe it's like an exclusive thing, then yeah, that's not a high price point that would scare me away. Much like the UFC fights, I think I'm like $100.
Right.
I'm like, I'm not paying $100 to watch something that I can see highlights from immediately after it's over.
Right.
So
What's the date?
The
It's the Friday after
23rd.
Thanksgiving.
So the 23rd and the 24th. I think it's like 2 days, right? For
Sure.
I hope they mic them up.
I
If
just
they're
know
already
that
trash
They should
talking,
be able to. With it pay-per-view, they should be able to
I hope they mic
say
them
whatever
up.
they want.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, you'd think so.
No, Thanksgiving is reserved for football.
That's how
That's
I
why it's the
feel.
day after.
Well, so is the day after. I mean, there's teams that play. I'm pretty sure
There
college
are.
teams
There's-
play the day after. There's
I think
NFL
Washington
games.
plays Washington State
Yeah.
in the Apple Cup.
Are there NFL games the Friday after?
No.
No, just
They're just
Thanksgiving
college.
Day
Yeah.
and then Sunday.
Yes.
Yeah, then Sunday. Because I always have, Dallas and Detroit play, and then now they've added the third preseason game, or not preseason, but the third game on that Thanksgiving.
Yeah, no, I don't.
You don't care?
No, I don't care.
Rue doesn't care. The other Lauren? Lauren, you don't care?
Well, for what we do, it's important to at least have knowledge of what goes on because it will be a talking point, I think, on each show, or at least outside of Jaguars Today. But at the same time, do I care? No. If this was back in their prime when they absolutely were bitter rivals,
They wouldn't have ever done it.
But I would have, and especially if the money was really coming from one of them, like if they were, or both of them, if they were laying it down on the table,
Right.
and they're fighting for their own money, or to win the other person's money, that's one thing. But this is just for show almost. That's where the trash talking to me is almost falling on deaf ears for me personally, because I don't feel that hatred anymore. They've played rounds together
they're trying to hype
recently.
it up. They want
And
people
they're
to
in
buy
their
this thing.
40s, and I get like they're great. And so I'm sure I'll watch some of it, but I highly doubt that
Golf
I personally
on
will sit there and
pay-per-view,
pay for
though.
it.
Has that ever happened before? Does anybody
I
know?
don't think so.
I was just on that page.
I don't know about that.
It's got to be the
There's
first
been another
time.
match before.
Yeah.
But anyways.
I mean, I would assume that you could. Maybe they couldn't. Again, I'm stepping into territory I don't know a whole lot about, but if you put it on a network channel. And the amount that you could charge for advertising, commercial-wise.
Yeah, that was
Not
really.
nearly as close. That's why when they have big fights, they can't do them on regular HBO or regular Showtime because the advertising money just wouldn't be enough to pay these guys like, $5 million, $6 million a piece or whatever it is, $9 million.
Yeah.
Like that's.
I wonder. Maybe I'm probably in the minority with people that are geared up to watch it. I don't know.
I mean, back in '99, Tiger and David Duvall went head-to-head. And the winner got $1.1 million.
That one actually was on ABC. I
Yep,
believe.
it was. It was on primetime on ABC.
But like I said, only $1 million.
Dude,
Right.
$9 million.
Yep.
That's insane.
So I'm excited. I'm stoked about it. I cannot wait. I
Who
can't
you
get
cheering
enough
for?
of it. Tiger, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course I'm cheering. Our house is cheering for Tiger.
Can you believe people are actually fans of Phil?
Phil's like one of the most
I don't-
philanthropic golfers to ever
Phil
live.
is
I don't know if it's more
He's a
so.
lame.
I don't know if it's more so people are more fans of Phil than they are
Sure
anti-Tiger.
that.
So I understand. I understand if you're.
I
rooting
always
for
liked Phil, especially because he was a family man. We've heard stories of where he took time away from the game to be with his wife who was diagnosed with cancer. And then most recently he missed a big event, I think it was the U.S. Open maybe, because he had to miss part of
Graduation.
it because of his daughter's graduation. And so, I mean, I think overall as a
Tiger's a family man too.
guy, Tiger's not.
Maybe just not his wife,
That's
but
with somebody else's family.
He's a kid.
maybe not his wife, but he can still be a family man to your kids.
I think you might affect your kids poorly if you bash in the windshield.
I think
of your car
Elan's
or
doing all right in a $400 million house.
Wilson almost went to prison. Like,
Yes.
did you forget that?
Yes.
Good
For
family
what,
man.
Gambling,
I did forget
right?
that.
Wasn't it for gambling?
Conveniently.
Oh, insider trading.
Insider
Which
trading.
isn't a big deal in my opinion, but I'm just saying. I mean,
Right.
he's not an angel out there.
No. There's a lot of people that don't like him either.
So, on to Serena Williams now. She is, first of all, have you seen her at the U.S. Open currently?
Yes.
And the outfit she came out in, and I love it because it's basically like, a double bird to the French Open saying, well, look at what I'm wearing here, where it's a one-piece kind of unitard, a half shoulder is black, and then a black tutu. None of it says tennis at all, but it's interesting
Only
to
you could
say
use the
the
word
least.
unitard
Well,
without me giggling.
That's what it looks like. So the French Open has come out and said she is not allowed to wear her cat suit, which is the full body, if you want to say it, the onesie, but it's a full body unitard. That's what it is. Legs all the way down. And she says it's beneficial to her because she has been through so many blood clots following the pregnancy. She's had some health issues. And it helps her, especially when she's out there working out and playing tennis. And they deemed it obviously inappropriate, and you have to stick with the French Open, and you have to wear certain colors and not off-white. You can't be off-white. It has to be white, and blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, I know. What are your thoughts on
I think it's stupid.
on the banning?
It's definitely stupid. It goes back to our earlier conversation on cheerleaders. Why can't athletes dress like athletes? And it just seems like an archaic thing to tell a woman what she should and shouldn't wear. I think within reason. But if it's for competition and it's not revealing, what's the problem?
I mean, it's not revealing at all. So, if anything, it's covering so much more than what they want the women to wear in this short tennis skirt or the short tennis dress.
And maybe that's exactly the problem is
and it could
they're
be.
saying, hey,
Look,
you know what, we know why we have viewers, and when people tune in for women's tennis, they expect to see the short skirts, and that's what we now are going to mandate.
So Europe, not as progressive as you think.
How many people actually tune in to watch Serena because of a short skirt?
Serena, no.
Exactly.
But I think back in the day, Anna Kournikova, I think people were tuning in.
She was awful at tennis, by the way.
But that's exactly the only reason I know her name. Is because she was glamorous and people were absolutely guys.
And she dated
his
name?
Enrique Iglesias.
Yes.
Yeah.
See?
Enrique.
I was going to say Rory McIlroy, but he dated a different tennis player.
Yes. Wozniak.
Yes,
right?
Caroline Wozniak.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't watch a ton of tennis, so it's not going to affect me one way or the other. But
I mean, I just look at the guy, you know, the chief for the French, and
he looks.
He looks like a guy that would make this rule.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely does.
And tennis to me is boring. It is. I'm sorry.
No, I don't.
I
appreciate
too
the
stupid
greatness
to figure out the scoring. On top of that, I don't understand what's going on half the time. So, but I love Serena Williams. She is a badass. She is different than what that she's physically different. She's built like she could line up with some of the Jaguars players. I mean, she is muscular.
Yeah.
She's not dainty. She's not she's not your put her in a box tennis player. I love that about her. I love this new commercial that came out with her dad. Oh my God, it makes me want to cry. It's so amazing. You need to just Google it. I won't walk you through it because I won't do it justice. But she actually even came out and said, "Look, it's not a big deal. The catsuit thing, whatever. I'll do what I need to do."
I love her reaction
golf,
to it.
Golf, tennis. If you're smart and you want people to stay tuned into it, you let it evolve, just like any sport. Just like golf has evolved into less, middle-aged white men who hit golf balls a million yards. It's now athletes in different styles, wearing different clothes, and younger people, and it's a generation, and it's the Tiger Woods followers of the world. So keep up, evolve, be a little bit different, keep some of your traditions, but put a spin on them, or you're just going to lose people.
Yeah, and I think we do need to appreciate, and this is why I kind of kick myself when I don't watch tennis, is because then I'm not able to actually see in person how great Serena Williams is. And I don't want in 20 years to go, oh yeah, she was playing when I was able to watch and I just chose not to because I didn't really like tennis. If there's a major star in a sport, even if you don't love the NBA, you should tune in to see LeBron, right? So I should tune into tennis, and I'm kicking myself that we're talking more about outfits and that I should be paying more attention and enlighten you more about Serena on the court.
Like, her reaction to it was perfection.
Yeah, I hope that fans, if whoever does go and attend, show up in the cat suit. Just everybody in the stands should be wearing the cat suit. Just
I am
there.
surprised
What?
that's
We're not playing.
Comfortable, just because
it's got to be so comfortable.
So hot though.
Yeah, I would think
the whole body just seems.
Oh no, it's a perfect outfit to travel in.
It's breathable, I'm sure.
But I
Whatever
mean, to play a
material.
sport in is obviously travel. You've got the air conditioning coming at you from all sides, and you don't want your skin touching stuff. But like when you're actually running around, I would think that full pants would just be so hot.
Yeah, but look at the football players. They wear the, that type of legs on their legs, and they wear it on their arms.
Seems more breathable, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's because it looks like black spandex, and maybe it's not.
It's not.
All right, that's going to do it for us on this Tuesday evening. But of course, don't go anywhere. Stay tuned for XL Prime Time with Ryan the Hacker Green and Joe Cowart. Thanks so much to our producer, JJ LaSelva, for making it all happen tonight, and to our guest, Ashlyn Sullivan from Jaguars.com. Remember, the Jaguars play Thursday night. It's the 4th and final preseason game. Our coverage begins right here at 2:30 on 1010 XL. For Donna Murphy, for Blythe Brumleve, and for Lauren Rue, I'm Lauren Brooks. Have a great rest of your evening.